1-on-1. Freddie Finney shoot, Finney shot. Unbelievable! Apologies to the neighbours. Good evening. Welcome to New York Talk. This is the United podcast. A day later than normal, but if you don't know why, we'll explain later. Because there is a good reason for this one. So thank you all for joining us. We have a full house again. Mick, Danny, and Will from Tivoli Viewers joining us again. Thank you for joining us, boys.
Hello.
How are we all doing? Are we all happy and excited for the national break to finally end? Proper football to come back.
It feels like these.
I think we probably are.
Forever.
I'm not sure whether our players will be after their exploits.
Well, that's true, actually. Yeah. That's a good point. We'll come on to Chio, Shane Ferguson, and Cody. I think, although we talked about a couple of them last week, we'll cover them again. The main point tonight is to look ahead to Saturday afternoon. Pompey come to town and see how we think it's going to go, how inevitable it is that George Hurst is going to score. The usual kind of thing that we cover on this podcast. So, yeah, Mick, Pompey, it's difficult with Pompey because you just assume that they're going to be up there. They're a massive club for this level, along with other clubs. What do you think? What do you expect from tomorrow?
I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult. They've not got off to a great start, or not the start that you would have anticipated they would have got off to. But maybe they're slow burners. I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? Didn't they just put 4 past Sunderland though? Prior to the international break?
Yeah, but it was one of the wettest pitches there's ever been, though, weren't it?
Well, yeah, that's as maybe. It doesn't really matter, does it? You know, yeah, it's going to be a tough game, but they're all tough, aren't they? They're all tough in this league, but this one more than any. Probably with the exception of the Sunderland game, these are the two clubs that are going to have the biggest away following of the season that we'll see, with the exception of our noisy neighbours. So you know that could have an impact on the game as well, but I still back us, I think.
Yeah, well, what do you expect? We've had key players missing for the international break, but we've still had, for the most part, 2 weeks off with players rested up and working on anything that need to work on. We weren't doing too badly before break, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we came into the international break in pretty decent fettle, 6 unbeaten. So to some extent, I reckon the international break probably came at the wrong time for us. But this next month or certainly 6 weeks is going to define, I think, where our ambitions will be within the season. We've got a really tough Pompey side that, for me, haven't really hit the ground running as of yet, but have the squad that is more than capable to be challenging for playoffs this year. So lots of really interesting additions, which I'm sure we'll speak about throughout the show tonight. But they have a lot of quality that we need to be aware of. And yeah, I'm expecting a very, very tough game tomorrow.
Yeah, and on Pompey, Danny, they've got the Cowleys in charge. I know it's early days from. I know they're still working, but we know how difficult they can set up teams to be. They've also got the positives, but they can make life very difficult for their opposition number. And they did it in Lincoln a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they can. And I think Portsmouth is the start of a very interesting run for us that will probably define where we'll sit this season. Maybe not overall, but certainly how we'll play against some of the bigger teams. But Portsmouth did have a bit of a hiccup in form, if you like. I mean, they didn't win for 7 games until they put 4 past Sunderland. So that's quite a way to go. We're not going down quietly. We can still be a team that's going to be up there 4-0. So I think they'll come into this game hoping to do a similar turnover with us. Whether or not they do, I don't think they'll score 4, certainly. But like Will says, it will be a very hard game. But I think all our players are well rested and up for it. And I think Portsmouth might have that little niggle in the back of the mind that they've just lost 2-0 to Sutton United. Granted, it were a changed team, but losing 2-0 to a team who's just come up from the National League must at least sit on your mind a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, probably. Well, a bit more. Let's talk a bit more Pompey. The good thing for us is that Ronan Curtis is suspended, which is a big plus. He's a very dangerous player, but they're not short on other options, are they? Really?
I mean, the embarrassment of riches that Portsmouth have got are unbelievable. You know, you take Curtis out of the side, but they've still got quality in Marcus Harness, who I think is unbelievable for this level. John Marquis, we know all too well for his time at Donny, and they have pace to burn, which for us it could potentially be problematic. They are a side that likes to have a little bit more of the ball, so averaging about 55% possession at the moment in each of the games. So expect to see them have a little bit more of the ball than us. One thing that has been sort of really apparent throughout the game so far is they aren't really scoring a lot of goals. So that's an area that, you know, Danny said he didn't think that they'll put 4 past us. I definitely don't think they'll put 4 past us. That said, the international break for a team like the Cowleys is a godsend, because you know how meticulously organised that side's going to be. They've only conceded 10 goals already this season, which makes them one of the most difficult defences to breach. So I'm expecting a really tight encounter tomorrow. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They've got so much quality throughout the side. You know, looking from the back. You know, Gavin Bazunu, is probably the best goalkeeper in League One. If you take away the Wednesday fans that are saying it's Bailey Peacock Farrell, which I think is proven over the last month or so that's not the case. Bazunu actually stopped a Ronaldo penalty a month ago.
that him?
So yeah, it was. Yeah, lots of quality within that Pompey side.
Yeah, Mick, how it's difficult how you know how we're going to set up. We don't know. We assume Chio's going to be back fit because it's Chio. You know, we heard something. Shane Ferguson's always got a niggling injury, foot injury, back from international duty. Last time he came back from international duty, he was injured. Where can you see any changes? Where can you see any changes from the last couple of games?
I'll be honest, I can't. I mean, that back three potentially is an issue. But I just can't see any changes. I don't see why he would want to change it unless there are any injury worries. As you said, Shane Ferguson does seem to be susceptible a little bit, but for me, I don't see why we would change it. We've been playing so well, and we've looked so strong, particularly at the back. I mean, the way this is teed up at the moment, it's going to be 0-0 or 4 apiece, isn't it? You know, it's going to be one of those games by the looks of it. Potentially, but no changes for me. Definitely not.
What about Joe Mattock? Should be back in contention, Danny. For me, Icky's not been bad, but he's had a few shaky moments in that left-hand side of position. If Mattock's fully fit, here we go, Josh Smith. If Mattock's fully fit, would he come in for Icky for him? Where are you stand on that one, Danny?
Well, from what I've seen from from Warney's press, we've got a completely fit squad other than the usual suspects that we know are out, like Lindsay and I presume Angus for a little bit as well. So he's got more or less a full register to pick from. But I think because Mattock is growing into that position and it's the position he wants to play in, and like I say, he's not been bad, but he has had a couple of moments where you've sort of gritted your teeth and gone, "Ooh, now then." So I could see Mattock coming in, especially after I watched back the performance against Scunthorpe, where Icky goes to clear a ball, completely misses it, and then Scunthorpe go and score. So hopefully Icky doesn't do that again anytime soon. But yeah, I see Josh's point about Mattock coming back in. He's coming into a position that he wants to play in and feels he's more suited towards. It's a bit of experience on that left-hand side as well. All right, granted, he's probably going to get a yellow card. So if you want to get your bets on now, I'd do it. But yeah, I can see Mattock coming in, Mattock, Woods, and probably Reg in the back three for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. But are you happy with that back three, Will? Any what are your thoughts on the Icky Matic question?
It's a good question. I would personally play Matic because of his experience. They have Marlon Romeo down that right wing back position, and probably Hackett Fairchild, who's also pretty rapid. So I would trust Matic in that position from a defensive point of view, but also, Hackett Fairchild's not going to track back. So in terms of going forward, that would be my choice. I think the big choice for me is at left wing back, where you would either go with Miller, who's had 2 weeks, a few weeks off because of his suspension, or Bowler. I think I'd probably go Bowler. Just for the defensive aspect. But, it's a toss-up for any of the three at the moment, to be honest. I wouldn't want to be Warney making that decision.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either. We'll move on to a bit further forward. Mick Chio comes back from his international exploits, having probably one of the best weeks of his life. Scoring his first international goal, making his first international start, making history. Is there any argument for him not to start?
No.
Cool.
Well, they can't be, can they? No. I can't see, unless he's injured, unless he's carrying any sort of knock whatsoever. Why would you not start him? It makes no sense whatsoever. He's played so well for Ireland. He's going to be riding on a psychological high as well as a physical high. He's got to start. And he's going to. It's just he'll tear them apart down that right hand side, as he always does week in, week out. So no, I cannot see any argument for him not to start.
I think the only thing that I would say, just to play devil's advocate there, is you've got to bear in mind we've got 3 games this week. So is he going to play a full 90 if he does start? Definitely not. I would definitely start him because he's obviously coming off the emotional high of scoring your first goal and performing like he did for Ireland. But I think you've just got to bear in mind that probably 60 minutes in, you're probably going to see Kieran Sadlier on that right-hand side.
Yeah,
but then for Tuesday, me personally, if I was a manager, I mean, I'm not qualified, but if I were manager, I'd then switch it on Tuesday, have Sadlier play the majority of the game and then bring Chio on as pace injection and just alternate it, to keep them both ticking over, but to alternate stamina levels. Just keep everyone on a bit of a level playing field, especially on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and if you need to inject a bit of pace, you can always got Miller. I know Miller is not a right-side player, but he did play there against Donny in the Cup. So if you think, right, we need a bit of pace, Miller can fulfill that role if need to be. We are going to see a lot of rotation, or a decent amount of rotation in the next 7 days, I should think. Ardek on YouTube didn't think he had it in him on his head, Chio. I was shocked. Couldn't believe it. The next big question really is the midfield 3, Danny. We know Jimmy Lindsay's out. Probably 2 or 3 more weeks now. Which midfield 3 are you going with? Which what? It's a great question to have, but it's a big question.
Yeah, and I mean, even Warren said in his press, it's been made easier because Lindsay's out from. I think he said a minimum of 5 games. I think he's got 4 left or so. But yeah, personally, I'd go with usual suspects of Rathbone, Wiles, and Barlaser. And then if someone does have a bit of a knock in midfield or isn't as on pace on a Tuesday, it's very easy for a Dauphin just to slot in. And I think that is one of the reasons why this season is looking quite promising. It's just our strength in depth. Whenever someone's out injured or has been swapped out for somebody else, you never really go, that's a weakened position, because we all seem to be on a similar level this season, which is exceptional to see.
Yeah. I was speaking to a Portsmouth podcast the other day about previewing this game, and he goes to me, where's Rudden's weakness? Well, if you're very, very quick and isolate Woody, then we've got a problem. But there isn't 3 or 4 different areas, Will, we could say, if this team do this, that, and the other, we're going to be in trouble. We've got not many weaknesses, and I think that's probably because of the depth of squad as well, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I personally think we've got a little bit of an opportunity in terms of the transition defensively and making sure that we're in position. And as you mentioned, if you've got a team that has pace to get in behind, 2 against 1 on Woody, then you're going to have an issue. But to all intents and purposes, there haven't really been, as yet, a side that's able to do that. We are playing better sides now, so I expect a higher quality. But I would also expect that in these last 2 weeks, that's the one thing that Warney's been drilling quite heavily down on. So we'll see what comes of tomorrow. But I would imagine that'll be a key part of Portsmouth's game plan.
I don't want to tempt fate, but I mean, I don't think Woody is the type of player to allow himself to get isolated. I've said that now, and he'll go and do it on Saturday, won't he? But
against Fleetwood, he got ragged about a little bit, didn't he?
He did, but he's more likely to be stepping out than stepping back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's more likely to be stepping up into midfield than he is finding himself, as last man, if you like. It's more likely to be one of his sidekicks, for want of a better term.
Yeah, fair point.
The key in the game is going to be Marquis and Woody. If Woody can win that battle, we're in a decent place, I think.
And I don't want to tempt fate. I don't think Marquis has really hurt us before, has he? And again, a touching up would have got. We've always done quite well against. He's scored lots of goals against other teams, and don't get me wrong, he's a cracking striker. But we tend to do well against teams. If a team has got a striker who's really good, we tend to be quite good at shutting that one man down. Brentford and Ivan Toney is a good example from last year. From a goal scoring point of view, he scored the penalty, but he never really hurt us from a goal scoring point of view. Brentford have got a million other players who are just as good. But in League One, we ain't got that as much. More questions on the striking, Mick. We should cover the Will Grigg chat we talked about last week. We were sort of saying he's got a recall option. We weren't sure if the League Cup counted towards the playing twice in a season. It's been confirmed that he has now played for 2 clubs in a season. So Will Grigg cannot play for another team this season. I don't know how he played in the League Cup, but they might have screwed Sunderland over a little bit. Not be able to move him elsewhere. So it's us or Sunderland, Mick, in January.
Yeah.
January is 2.5 months away, but that does, like you mentioned on the last podcast, that does change the game, having that rule in place and him fitting in it.
It does, yeah, it does, and it puts a different complexion on it. So we'll have to wait and see. I can't imagine that Sunderland would want him to stay with us if he's scoring goals for us, and we are one of their competitors. Whether they are going to have the capability, for want of a better word, to call him back and not play him, whether that's whether they're able to do that, whether he will allow it, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I suspect if he is scoring for us and we are competing against them, they will call him back. I cannot see that they're going to. They won't unless we meet whatever their asking price is. And obviously, again, if you're scoring and we're competing, that asking price is going to be higher than it would be ordinarily. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
let's not worry about it yet.
We can't help it. It was football. The football fans,
but come on,
worry about something that's not happened yet.
Let's get into a position where in January, Sunderland are looking over the shoulder at everybody else, and we're out in distance. Then it becomes probably less of an issue. So let's try and get into that position first.
Yeah. Alex Rushley says good news for us potentially signing him permanently in January, potentially, or at the end of the season, all depending on wages and transfer fees and whatnot. Is it a Smith Grigg start for you, Danny? Can you see any argument for Coyote or Freddie to come in on Saturday anyway?
I think in terms of how Smith and Grigg performed in the league before the international break, I'd say keep them to win because they seem to be our deadly duo at the minute, if you like. That's not knock or anything towards Freddie because he scored in the League Cup alongside Grigg and Smith. So I think if you are going to replace one or the other, just to rest him for Tuesday a little bit, I'd bring Freddie on because he has shown us he is still capable. And I think he might have had a bit of a kick up the backside going, you just need to put in a little bit more work, son. And he got on to Boller's exceptional cross in the league, in the EFL Cup, by the way. And he headed it in. I didn't know Freddie could head a ball. He's now proved that he can. So that might be a good combination if Ogbenny's got his crossing eye on. We might see that. We might see Smith score. If again, because Warney said one of the things Ben is lacking is his ability to accurately cross a ball. One of the highest crosses into the box in the league, but there's just no meeting of it in the box. Because I think I saw a stat that he's done 77 crosses into the box, but only 17 have been met in the box. So if those increase a little bit, Lord knows how many goals we'll get from effectively Route 1 football crossing to mixer. Someone lumps his head on it and it's in. It's just asking for Woody just to charge at it and head it in. But for me, I'd say Smith and Grigg to start, but then probably Ladipo will come on maybe in about 60, 70 minutes ish. Or KO day, depending on who one thinks will suit the system better.
Yeah, the crossing thing, Will, it's like the shooting stats we talked about a few weeks ago. It sounds really simple, but if you just get someone to end at cross, there's going to be goals. It's if you have a shot, eventually you're going to score. It sounds really simple, doesn't it? But it's clearly not. The
most important thing is, we have to have people inside that are creating chances, and for every 7 touches that Chio makes, he creates a chance for Rotherham United. So that's a big thing for us. That's why he is so coveted throughout this league. And there are questions over the quality of his crossing, but you could also argue that you've got to have players in the box making those runs to meet that as well. So there's a mixture of both there, I think. And I think we're starting to see a little bit more of Chio becoming a complete player. For me, one of the best wingers in the league, but not the best winger in the league. The best winger in the league that I've seen this season is Oladapo Afolayan. And I think Chio can learn a little bit from Afolayan in terms of his end product. Yes, that's the point that I was going to make.
That sentence seemed to end very quickly, Will. He seems to
kind of beats it out there,
go, yes.
It's one of those things where, like, do you know when you're asking yourself, what was the question?
Yeah.
So, yeah, hopefully I covered it.
Yes, absolutely. Adak says that I should ask Tiger to come back and coach him, Mick.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this before, and it is a controversial one, this, but if Chio had the ability to cross the ball like Tony Towner did, Tony Towner's crown would be slipping, I think, because he is potentially that good. He's got a little bit more than Tony Towner had in terms of pace. Well, he's got a little bit more of pace than the vast majority of people, to be fair. And he'll take a player on like Towner did and beat him like Towner did. If he had that end product, he would be a better player. And that's saying something, because he's one of my all-time favourite Millers, Tony Towner. But Chio has definitely got the potential to be better than he was, I think. I might get shot having said that from a few people of my age, but that's just my view. It does remind me of him so much when he gets that ball at his feet, and he just gets his head down and he takes a defender on. He just makes I can see the expression on the defender's face, and it takes me back to 1981. You know what I mean? It's just exactly the same expression of complete fear and alarm and dread, and they will be working on that end result. And the point that Will's made there, every 7 touches he creates a chance. Maybe he is as good, because that is a hell of a start.
Yeah, it is. I agree. So we're going to split this episode into a little bit of a half now. So we're going to talk about stats and ref watch and things like that in a second. As many previous listeners will know, we have spoken to Kirk Broadfoot this week. Me, Danny, and Mick spoke to him last night. So we've put together a tiny little bit of a trailer for you. The trailer I've put together is a couple of clips where we were talking about his time on Neil Warnock. So here's a couple of minutes of what to expect from the Kirk Broadfoot episode coming up in next week or so.
Well, the first meeting we had, he actually said to us, "What am I doing here? Have you seen your fixtures?" He was like, "I can't even get a clean pair of socks. What's going on here?" That was his, God's honest truth, that was his first meeting, and we were like, just looking at what's going on here? But the man was a genius, honestly, a genius. Because the way he got the team playing it just suited us down to a T. Honestly, like, I genuinely believe if he come back the year after, we'd have been fighting for promotion, without a doubt. I just felt underhand the way he set us up and the way he got the team playing that we could beat anyone in our day. I genuinely believe that we were going out there and we were going to win. There was no one going to score against us and we would score. That's genuinely the way I felt playing underhand, how he set us up. It was brilliant, even to get Greg playing in that midfield role and just working along the road. It was brilliant. So it was. It was a genius, honestly, a genius. He loved it. He loved all of that. Even getting off the bus with all their fans and that, he was milking it and walking in, winding them all up. So it was brilliant. It was just, I think, what was his team talk? I'm sure it was something down along the lines of, I've never been beat here. If I get beat here or something, I'll not be back, or something crazy like that. And then when we beat them 1-0, he was like, right, okay, I'll see you Friday. I'm going home for a swim in my swimming pool and a drive in my Aston Martin. See you later.
So that'll be out later on this week. The last clip was after we beat Sheffield Wednesday in the Great Escape part. A really good chat, really good interview. We'll sort of set the expectations now. He couldn't talk about the incident with James McLean. There is actually an injunction against it, where he's not allowed to talk about it. He talks a little bit about the injunction about on it and things like that. And so there's not we talk about the ban and how it affected him, but we couldn't. He's not allowed to talk about the actual incident itself. So don't expect that part of it. But everything else is really good. He talks about signing under Steve Evans, the 6 managers he sort of played under at his time. It was a very good one, Mick.
It was. I guess the injunction's there to stop Mr. McLean getting embarrassed by whatever it is he said or did, but didn't get done for. So that's my guess, reading between the lines. But yeah, it was good. It was good. You might need a Scottish interpreter at times because he really does go deep into that accent, doesn't he? But yeah, what a fella. What a lovely fella. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed talking to him.
Yeah, it was good, anyone. Other than the Wi-Fi issues at the end of the episode, which everyone will hear, it was superb.
I swear my Wi-Fi broke it in Scotland. There was that moment where I don't know what it was. My Wi-Fi just suddenly spiked, and then the Wi-Fi in Scotland just went like that, and just turned off, and so we ended up losing Kirky for a little bit. But the gentleman he came back for about 5 minutes and kept chatting. So yeah, I apologise for breaking the Wi-Fi in Scotland.
Yeah, what a guy for doing that. We do really appreciate it. And we should chat with Liam Morrison again, the Inverness Caledonian Thistle media guy who didn't need to do this but really helped us put it together. So shout out to him. That will be out in the middle of next week. We've got the Wickham game, so we'll probably do it after the Wickham game once Mick's had time to edit the video.
Yeah.
No pressure, Mick. Couple of stats on the game. It's not a particularly regular fixture, Pompey. We've only played at home against Portsmouth 3 times since 1981, and one of them were in the League Cup. The last time we played them, Will, you put a video out earlier, the Joe Mattock goal in 2018, January 2018. 2017, sorry. I suspect it's going to be... It was a tough all afternoon, that one. Well, I remember the game, and it was quite a late goal. We sort of expect a similar sort of different manager, but it's expecting a similar sort of game, really, I suppose.
Yeah, 91st minute, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
I think Smudge hung up across to the back post, and there Joe Mattock was leaping like a salmon from nowhere to bring us a little bit of January joy.
I remember that.
Yeah, very, very similar game, I would imagine. It's going to be a game of very few opportunities, I think. Pompey, I think, the side that have conceded the 4th least shots on goal so far. So expecting a very tight encounter, given the fact that both sides also don't concede goals. As I said, given the international break, the managers that I wouldn't want to give that time to prepare are the Cowleys. So I don't know how or what we'll see the setup to be. I know that they're still struggling a little bit with injuries. I also know that we might see some old faces of Rotherham tail. So Sean Raggett will definitely play. He's had really, really good season so far. We might see a little bit of George Hurst. Sure, we'll nip onto that subject. The one I think that we won't see, unfortunately, is Clark Robertson, who I think is still out for injury. Which best of luck for Clark in getting back to fitness.
Yeah, not surprised. The least surprising thing I've heard all season, but I'm gutted for him because he's such a good player in his day. I'm glad he's not playing against us, but for him, I can only imagine. Mick, I'm now going to ruin your weekend by telling you who the referee is.
Oh God!
I'm going to see if you can guess who the referee was. It wasn't the Swansea game, and it wasn't a referee last season. Is there any other referees from recent time which you think was where we had a very bad afternoon against?
Trevor Kettle's obviously
It's
obvious,
not
isn't it? But I think we'd have heard that by now. Is it the same one who refereed the whole City game?
Yes, it is. All in the FA Cup.
Christ.
January 2020. Anthony Backhouse is the referee.
That was one of the worst refereeing performances I have ever seen in a professional football game. Bar none. So, I mean, yeah,
but
whatever.
Mick, you've seen Darren Bond week in, week out.
I know, and can I just say, no, let me rephrase what I've just said. It's the second worst refereeing performance I have ever seen. Because obviously I forgot about Gavin Ward. I've not mentioned him for a few weeks. So, yeah, I mean, that was an appalling performance that day. Hopefully he had an off day. Let's keep our fingers crossed because that was really poor.
It was. I knew you'd enjoy that.
Oh, great.
If anybody didn't watch it, it's worth going back and watching the highlights because all 3 goals shouldn't have happened. But we're over that, aren't we, Mick?
No. Yeah, I mean, I'm over that. I've got bigger fish to fry now, Mr. Gavin Ward. Somebody else is going to get my anger directed at him.
On the FA Cup, it's FA Cup draw weekend. FA Cup first round draw on Sunday at 1:00. I love the FA Cup. Just first few rounds are genuinely something special. Play some of the teams that are coming through into the first round. I'm really, really looking forward to that stuff. I think it's 1:05 on ITV. The programme starts. So I think we're ball 36 as well. But I'm sure you'll be able to find all that out on the official website, and we'll obviously tweet some out as and when it comes through. Will brought him up, Danny, so let's talk about the man, George Hurst. I talked to a Portsmouth guy the other day, and one of the first questions they asked me were about George Hurst. I struggle to find anything positive to say about his time with us last season. If there is anything positive, I don't know what it is. Is there anything positive you can think from last season?
I think the only positive I can think of is that he's been very consistent with us and Portsmouth in his form. So you could say that's like a counter swing to a positive for us. But it's effectively nailed on that George Hurst will be one that does a Joe Mattock at New York Stadium tomorrow. It's effectively nailed on, really, isn't it? But it is a shame because he came to Rotherham with such high hopes, especially from Warney, and us like thinking, he's a young lad and he wants to play his football, so let's see how he does. But it just completely fell on its face. And he never scored for us, which is the one thing you don't really want to see from a striker, is him not scoring. But I do think it could be a little bit to do with the legacy he has to live up to, with his dad being David Hurst. But at the same time, from what the Portsmouth fans have been saying, he's got that little bit of a Premier League chip on his shoulder, like he knows he's better than Portsmouth's level. And so that could be another downside. He tries to play himself into too much of a good light, and it just backfires all the time. So I don't know. Maybe this could be the universe's way of trying to humble him a little bit, or it could be the same thing of you just need to sort yourself out, lad.
Potentially, yeah. You weren't with us obviously last season, Will. So I'll ask your opinion on George Hurst. When I spoke to the Portsmouth fans about it, I wasn't very kind. I was sort of saying I can't really pick you many things out. I thought he did well for us last season. I don't think his first touch was particularly good. He didn't look like he could score a goal. At times, he looked confused on the pitch as to where the ball was and where it should go. It's frustrating because he should be a good player. He scored a ton of goals at youth level, and it feels like there should be a player there, but it was so frustrating to watch him.
I think just to start this off, there is no one that wanted George Hurst to score more last season than me. I really wanted to sing that song all season, especially against Wednesday. That would have been brilliant.
Yeah.
That can get clipped by Wednesday fans if they're after that. He's a player that, for me, last season didn't get much game time. So, although whilst he wasn't great when he did come on the pitch, I didn't want to judge him too much from his time here because he wasn't given a run of games. But he's also now not getting a run of games at the level below. And I think at that point, you've got to start to look at what the issue is. Is it an issue of, a manager just doesn't fancy you, which is now 2 managers in a row, if that's the case? Or is there a problem in terms of the application, in terms of this kid's not doing it in training, so he isn't starting games? I spoke to a Pompey fan after their EFL game against Sutton, in which Hursty, I believe, played. And his words were, he doesn't look like a professional footballer, which is a little bit harsh. But as of yet, he's not shown anywhere near enough. And that's why he's now nowhere near this Portsmouth side. Just be the luck tomorrow that he goes and bags an hat-trick and then comes and celebrates in front of us all. But yeah, I mean, I think there is a player there. It's just someone's got to try and unlock it. And to be honest, George has got to want to unlock it himself.
Yeah, we said last season a lot that we thought he shouldn't have been playing the Championship last season. We thought he needed to drop down League One, maybe even League Two. Number one, he needs to play games. Like Will's mentioned, he needs to play games. But if he's gone to League One and, like I says, and not getting games in League One, there's not many places left for him to go. If it's clearly it's not working for him. For one reason or another, he's got to question himself.
The problem that you've got here is he's talking himself out of other moves because financially, there's not a lot of clubs, certainly at this level, that can afford to pay for George Hurst. That's why Portsmouth have got him, because they have a little bit more of a budget and they thought he was going to be worth it. But who's going to pay his wages when? I don't know whether there's a clause in the contract, but I don't know whether Portsmouth can send him back in January. Who's taking that? Who's taking the loan? Is it going to be Salford? Just to throw a little bit of money at it? I don't think, with the way that they're looking to recruit at the moment, I don't think they're going to chuck money at it. So where's his next opportunity going to come from?
Wrexham.
Wrexham. Well, you never know.
Why would it necessarily be a club that's throwing the money about? I mean,
he's on a lot of money for this level, isn't he?
I'd ask a question about George Hurst, and this is a genuine question. I don't know what the issue is, but I'm sure that there is an issue somewhere within that package, within either the within his past, within him as a player, or him as a player with his dad. I don't know. I just wonder, and I ask this as a question, not a statement or an assumption. Has his dad oversold him over the years? Was that what the issue? I know there was some issues behind the scenes down at Swillsborough when he was there, between his dad and the board and the management team in relation to George. I asked that question: has he oversold him, and has people bought it? Because let's be fair, he certainly was not anywhere close to being a Championship striker. He was like a rabbit in the headlights a lot of the time, and he looked out of place, didn't he? He kind of looked like he didn't know what he was doing, and I don't know. I just asked that as a question. I don't know whether that's right or not, but I just get the feeling that maybe he's been oversold, and Leicester have bought it, and now they can't really do a great deal about it.
I think in today's day and age, every player is going to be oversold by an agent. That it's the data that sets out whether a player is good enough or not to be at a club. And obviously Leicester saw his youth record and took him on, and have now given him multiple opportunities on loan to go and prove his worth. So people have seen his worth. It's now down to him to go out and show it, that and prove that he's worth the money that people are willing to pay for him.
Yeah, and let's sort of state this out. We're not sort of sitting here saying we hope he's rubbish.
No,
We wanted him
absolutely.
to be a very good player for Rotherham United.
Yeah.
We were all desperate for him to do well. So this is not
100%.
this is not it's not because it's a shut way for Wednesday. Things like if anyone's watching this thinking, oh, they just start slagging him off. We're genuinely not. We really wanted him to well for us.
In the last 2 weeks of the season, every week I was saying Georgia's going to score and win his game, and we'll score every single game at end of season, and it's like he's going to score. Oh no, Lewis Wing scored. Oh, we're drawn. Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you put, I'll be tempted to put a bit of money on him scoring tomorrow. I'm not gonna lie. Be very typical. Carl Scott's with us. He mentions his last 5 games against Pompey been tight, 3-2s, 1-0s, always tight games. I think we all expect a sort of similar story, maybe not 3-2, but a similar sort of story. Chris Welsh with us, a Carlisle fan. He thinks it's going to be 1-0 to us. He also asked how Coyote's doing. He's doing okay. He's not playing as much as he wanted to, but he scored. We mentioned on the last episode, he scored an international duty, so he's clearly taking those chances. And for me, he's probably third choice striker.
Interestingly, he played as a winger at Carlisle, didn't he?
He played a lot wide,
yeah. I don't know why the difference, but I mean, it's not as though we ain't going any other wingers, is it? You know what I mean?
I was going to say, do you want to chuck him out wide? Where are you going to put him?
Oh yeah. Oh god, I didn't think that
through. 6 wingers like Steve Evans used to do.
Yeah.
I've lost my notes. Where am I? Ian Bradley's with us. Late to the party, but thanks for joining us, Ian. Let's go through the score predictions because we're probably not far off done. Will, do you want to start us off? What's your prediction for tomorrow?
That's tough. 1-0.
To us?
Yeah, 1-0 Millers.
Cool. Danny?
Like I said before, with Portsmouth, it's going to be a tight game. I mean, it has 1-0 either way written all over it, but I'm going to be positive and I'm going to say 1-0 to Rotherham.
Style. I'm going to go 1-1, which is what I've said on both Pompey podcasts. Our home forms, I know we've won the last couple at home, one being in the Pizza Trophy. The home form's still a concern to me. So, but if we win Saturday against Portsmouth, that's then the start of a run at home. It could potentially be a big win for us if we do it. But I'm going to go 1-1. Mick?
I don't know. I can't decide between 0-0 and 1-1. I just can't see there being anything in it at all. With how tight both defences are. I'm going to go 1-1. I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay.
I mean, 1-1's not a bad result either.
No, it's not a bad result for either team, is it? But 3 points will be better for us, obviously.
I think it is a case of it just don't lose. If we don't lose, I'm happy. Because we're a game against Portsmouth, it could end up being a 6-pointer come end of the season. So as long as we don't lose, it could help us out a little bit.
It could, but then you look at the next few games. On paper, we're going to be saying that about on the next 4 games: Portsmouth, Wickham, McDonald, Sunderland. One of them.
We're saying all this and we're saying all this and being incredibly cautious, and then when you actually step back, if you take a step back and look at the quality football that we've been playing over the last few games, even to the point when we lost against Fleetwood, some of the football that we played even in that game was absolutely outstanding. And if you then look at some of the other teams, some of the other games that are going on TV that are on League One, that are from League One, if you can find one, the quality is just not there. It's not there in these other sides. So maybe we're just a bit overcautious. Maybe we're, I don't know. We'll see, but I still think it's going to be 1-1.
Yeah, I'd mention we've got to get a home form. That's the key thing. If we were away from home, I suspect we might all be a bit more positive because of how good our away form is. And Portsmouth's home form was decent.
I mean, to be fair though, the away form isn't that much better than the home form. The home form is behind by like 1 or 2 results. So it's not like there's like a massive gulf in form difference. It's just that the home form is lagging behind a little bit. But we've got 3 home games in the next 4. So, like we said, this could be our chance to go, right, we can nail down our own form a bit now and properly get the ball rolling. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, Carl Scott thinks it's going to be 2-0. And I got another one, Stephen Gauntley. Put this on earlier. He thinks it's 3-1 to the Millers. I hope you're all right about that. We're just about done, I think. So what we'll get all these bits. And so if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribed. We're nearly touching 350 subscribers. So if you're not already on it, please do dip us over that number. We've put out today asking for if anybody's got a graphic design records or students want to get involved with us. Mick wants to get some stuff in the shop out and other stuff which we could probably do some help with because we are not the most useful at certain things. That's been kind. If you check out newyorktalk.co.uk, there's a couple of articles from Danny talking about the international breaks. Lewis Oldham has put up something up looking at the best signings from each of the last 10 seasons, which is a good little walk down memory lane, looking at some really good players that we've signed over the past few years as well. And we'll be back probably Sunday evening, I think, is when we're next scheduled to be back, where we're going to review the Portsmouth game, review the FA Cup draw, which is coming up on Sunday afternoon, and then look ahead Saturday, Tuesday. We've got Wickham coming to New York on Tuesday as well. It doesn't get any easier. I think it's fair to say. And also check out Tivoli View. Will's always got Tivoli View. Check out the great stuff that he does over there as well, while you're looking for some Rotherham United stuff to do over the weekend. Any other topics that you guys want to touch on or touch base with before we leave?
I have a thing.
Ooh.
It's not really relevant to the next run of games, but I just want to point it out because we're live and just in case anyone else is thinking of doing it. So as we know, the Ipswich tickets have just gone on sale, and we've got about 450 tickets to sell. And we know how Ipswich have done their COVID regulations. It is a little bit like Fort Knox trying to get in there. So when you buy said ticket, it also comes with a letter outlining everything that's restricted at the ground. So on your letter, you've got arrival time, lateral flow, vaccination history, negative test, vaccination history, mask wearing, and the directions to Portman Road as well, all on this letter that the club's obviously sent. So yeah, I just thought I'd make everyone aware of that, just to double check your ticket envelopes that you get from the club, so make sure you don't chuck the letter out.
Do we know if they check? Because I went to Wembley the other day for England game, and that said you had to bring proof of your history. But nobody checked anything. Do we know if Ipswich are checking?
Apparently that's why the arrival time is put on the ticket, because on the ticket it says entry time 6:30 to 7. For the quarter to eight
kickoff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God.
It's like all right, fair enough. That could be for their fans as well. But if there's going to be about 450 of us there, it's not going to take us half an hour to get checked by everybody.
Mate, it takes us an hour to get into New York Stadium without any COVID tests and stuff.
True.
But yeah, it does say about you need to have your proof of negative lateral flow test or proof of a double vaccination, and then that has a subsection for each one. So yeah, and just make sure it's all logged on NHS app, because you can just do it on there. Just get your COVID passport and then go, there you go, right, into the ground, off you go.
I don't know whether anybody else has got any experience of it at Ipswich, but certainly, like Matt said, at Wembley, and I'm off to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday for the American football, and the same criteria put in place that you need to have that with you just in case you are checked. I think they're doing spot checks essentially of supporters rather than checking everybody, which obviously would be ridiculous. But you know, I'm not convinced about Ipswich. It just seems that they seem to be very much an outlier in football terms. In terms of the way that they're
certainly in League One, anyway.
I was going to carry that sentence on, but I might as well just end it there now. But I don't know of any other football clubs, certainly outside the Premier League or even inside the Premier League, that are doing this same thing. Now, whether they apply the same rules to the home supporters as well, it'd be interesting to know. I don't know. It just smacked to me, you know, when we first heard it. I just thought that's just a way of trying to sort of persuade away supporters not to come. That might be just my cynical mind. I don't know, because I am a bit of an old cynic, but nobody else is doing it. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing with what they're doing because of the current and checking folk, but it's just that if everybody else were doing it, you wouldn't have an issue with it. But it's because, especially at New York Stadium, it's just, in you go. Oh, you've got your ticket. Oh, can I check your bag? Right, in you go. And that's it. And there's not even spot checks at New York Stadium, as far as I'm aware. But with Ipswich, even if there are just the odd spot check, it's like, but you're the only ones doing it, lads.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a bit bizarre.
It's like, are the cases really high in Suffolk or something? Or
well, I'm sure, but close to the game, we often speak to other podcasts. We will ask the question when we speak to the other guys. We will ask the question to those fans who go on a regular basis, see if we can get any more information for our fans who are going. But we'll see about that. Russ Vernon's with his final comment. He thinks it's going to be 2-1 to the Millers tomorrow, and he saw me and Will at the Scunny game. Nice to see you there, Russ. So yeah, thank you all for watching. If you've unless on YouTube, subscribe. I've gone through all that already. Keep an eye out in the midweek for the Kirkborough episode. We don't know exactly when it's going to be out, so keep an eye on the socials because we will put something out before it goes out. And there's a couple of bits in there which are really good and very, very interesting. So you will want to listen to that, I assure you. But yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Mick. Thank you, Danny. Thank you all for watching and listening. And we'll see you next time. Freddy's on one-on-one. Freddy turning shoot. Can Freddy get a shot? Unbelievable! Apologies to the neighbours.